On our previous Beat Diabetes post, I featured an interview with a man named John Jussen, who had an incredibly high A1c around 15. John remembered being on an Atkins diet years earlier and decided he needed to go right back to eating that way. He did well and after a while reduced his A1c down into the 7s, but he still had tremendous pain in his legs and feet. And although he was doing mostly low carb, he did cheat on his diet fairly regularly. On today's program, we'll hear the rest of the story and we'll find the major source of help he found, which reduced his neuropathy tremendously. Yeah, so for a number of years, you did pretty well with getting your numbers down. You haven't really told us just how far they came down, but you can tell that in a minute. But you were having tremendous pain in your feet, burn. What you've described as your neuropathy is really about as bad as I've ever heard. I mean, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people talk about that pain in the feet, about a burning sensation. But I mean, yours was so terrible you couldn't sleep and even felt like you were being electrically shocked from time to time.
That was, like I said, my main focus. I started trying to search, did some acupuncture, different massage. I tried vitamin B12 injections. I was searching for alpha lipoic acid, all this stuff. And I think I was on that search route rather than fixing diabetes. I was trying to fix the neuropathy and realized that was a big challenge, right? And about that time, I ended up upset because the doctor said that if I went strict on the low carb, that my neuropathy would actually go away, and it did not go away. And so I thought I was starting to feel sorry for myself. And I started getting upset and justifying that what kind of life is it to lead if you have neuropathy and you're actually dealing with those symptoms and on top of not being able to eat all the great stuff that I used to eat, the ice cream and the cakes and all that stuff. And so I really was battling the low carb in my head. I got the A1c down at that time from 14.7 down to about 7.7, which really wasn't bad, I guess, for me. But I look back now, and what I realized was I had a sugar addiction. And kind of like an addict would justify, let's say you're alcoholic on the weekends, you would say, you know what, you start justifying why you could drink. You can say, well, you know what, I'm going to go to the bar on Saturday or to the dance club, have a drink because, you know what, on Monday I'm going to stop drinking. I was doing the same with my sugar addiction. I was going low carb during the week, and then I would make decisions that, okay, it's Saturday, I have this Costco blueberry muffin. I can eat that because guess what? On Monday, you're going to go low carb again. So I started making decisions that were really, really bad. And so, and I had been doing that probably for the majority of the time from 2012 when I got diagnosed to 2019, January of 2019. I was probably kind of a low carb, but it was half. It wasn't low carb. It was, it was low carb with me cheating all the time.
Yeah. Well, to kind of put it into perspective, you had obviously done pretty well for yourself in the sense of anytime you can come from 14 down to 7 something, you've done well, but it's not quite good enough. And your neuropathy was still around. You're having to take sleeping pills just to deal with the pain in your feet so that you could sleep, get a night's sleep. And you went for years like that, doing somewhat low carb, but not quite completely low carb and not quite as serious as you could have. Something shook you up and moved you to take it to another level. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I went down from, at that point, from my high was about 265 pounds. I'm 6'5", down to about 218, and I went skiing with around New Year's or New Year's, right before New Year's of 2019, and I saw a friend friend of my son's, his name's Frank, and thank you, Frank, but I saw him and he looked like a different person, and I asked him, what did you do? And he said, you know what, I lost all this weight on keto. And so at that point I knew keto was low carb, but I didn't really know what it was. And so I thought, okay, I'm gonna this time look into it. And I realized that that keto was basically the main portion was adding more fat, but then also to keep the carbs under 20 grams per day, which is a lot. And that day I made a commitment that I would give it a 6-week shot of actually going cold turkey on the sugar, less than 20 grams. And that was the day basically that changed my life, and that's been almost 2 years ago. I went keto and cold turkey on the sugar, and that was did it for a month, about 4 weeks. Didn't cheat once, and once I did that, I felt like I had kind of broken through to the other side. And this whole new world existed where I wasn't tempted to eat sugar, and it really started making sense that since I had a sugar addiction, when the doctor said go ahead and eat carbs in moderation, or the American Diabetes Association said go ahead, have some rice and have whatever in moderation, it was telling like a gambler that had a gambling addiction, a gambling addict, to just go ahead and bet on 2 football games, or an alcoholic, just go ahead and have a few drinks in moderation. So it really, when I started thinking it like that, it made sense. So here I have a sugar addiction. The best way to break an actual addiction is to go cold turkey. You don't tell the gambler, if you want to really help the gambler, tell him to stay out of the casino, right? I mean, and so that was huge clarity for me.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that a light suddenly came on when you went keto. I'm guessing you probably did a little research, read a little bit, watched a few videos that kind of reinforced that.
Yeah, correct. And so after I was obviously feeling this way, I started doing more research. That's where I found Dr. Ken Berry. I found Dr. Jason Fung. Dr. Sarah was influential. Dr. Eric Berg. I started really figuring it all out, and the second part of my transformation came from Dr. Fung, which was the intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating. So about 6 weeks in, I started intermittent fasting, and I did right away 18-6. So I started eating at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I stopped at 5 o'clock. And I was religious for a year and, well, 2 years. So I've been, up until September, I've been 18-6, intermittent fasting. And then the last 3 months, I've been doing alternate day fasting, so ADF, where I go 36 hours without eating. But that was life-changing. Was learning all about insulin and how how to actually treat diabetes by reducing your insulin resistance through not eating. Let your body do a reset and become more receptive to the insulin.
So tell us about your A1c. You told us you were at 14.7, you got down into the 7s, but I have a feeling you're not in the 7s anymore. Am I right?
Correct. After 3 months, I ended up getting my A1c down to about 5.5. Really, I belong to an HMO, and I didn't really want anybody stopping me because I knew how I felt. so I got it down to about 5.5 with no medications. And so on top of all that, during that period where I switched from burning sugar as a fuel to burning fat, I officiate high school and even college games, soccer games. And so during that period, I officiated 85 high school soccer games. I was unbelievable shape. I dropped down from 218 down to 184. And I could outrun a lot of these high school kids. I'm 53, and I had this big rush of energy, and I was feeling like I was in high school. And so, and this is what my weight was in high school. So it was only 3 months to get to that point. Type 2 diabetes is not a progressive disease. Like my parents and my family, that it's that we can actually live a good life with with type 2 diabetes, and we can eat a lot of really good things, and it's unbelievable, really, what how your taste buds change and what you're able to eat.
When I was editing the original video of the interview I did with John, I realized that we never really discussed the nature of the relief he found for his terrible neuropathy, that burning pain in his feet that was so bad. He took sleeping pills every night for years just to get through the pain. So I got in touch with John, and we did a short little addendum to his original interview to talk about this. You found yourself unable to sleep, I guess, sometimes going several hours past when you actually lay down before you could fall asleep.
Correct. I was up all night for at least the first 2 weeks, so it really affected my life.
Yeah. So, I find it very fascinating that your victory in the area of diabetes came in like 2 stages. You brought it down from that incredibly high 14.7 down into the 7s fairly quickly, and then you were fairly content, but it didn't really do much for the neuropathy. The neuropathy stayed about as bad as ever.
So it did, when I did go get the A1c down, it did lower some of the symptoms, and during the electrical shock actually slowed down, and the numbness continued correctly, like you said, but I was searching for different solutions, and some of which included this special cream. It's really cassia cream. I tried vitamin B12 injections, alpha lipoic acid. I went to acupuncture. I was sticking my feet in the hot tub and then switching over to an ice bath, trying to see if that would work. I was kind of getting desperate. One of the things that did kind of provide some temporary relief was I had this aerosol spray, icy hot spray that I would put on my feet, and that seemed to provide relief. And the dog would enter the room, and he would start sneezing because the smell was so bad, and everybody knew that I was experiencing pain because I would be spraying this icy hot on my feet.
Yeah, so you went about 7 years trying different things, getting some relief, but never really solving much, and the pain was always there to some extent. And then when you really got serious about your diet, even more than what you had, and you'd done, a tremendous thing in being able to bring it down from 14.7 into the 7s. I mean, that's significant for sure. But when you got even more serious and you began to do the keto thing, you saw a difference right away.
Correct. So there's a couple things. The year before I did keto, I was taking a CBD oil, and that helped out a lot. And so I wasn't having to take a sleeping pill because the CBD oil was helping. And that was the year previously to where I started keto. Once I got on keto, I ended up after probably 3 weeks, not needing to take the CBD oil. It really lowered all the symptoms of my neuropathy by, I'm going to say 85 to 90%. And so it was, quite a revelation that I was able to reduce those symptoms. Now, my toes are still numb. Not maybe as bad, and it doesn't seem to be progressing. If I accidentally do eat something with carbohydrates in it, if I eat, let's say, a chicken and there's a sauce that was prepared with sugar, let's say at a restaurant, especially that night, and my feet start burning again, and I might even get electrical shocks. So it's definitely, I think, my body telling me that sugar's poison at this point in my body, and not to eat that sugar. It's a cultural thing where I think that it's okay to eat sugar, and I don't think that people realize how bad it is. And it's people like you that are getting the word out that it's going to change the way we're eating. Probably about 50 years from now, we're going to look back at this point in time the same way we do smoking in the 50s. We look back and say, how were they doing that? And I believe 40 or 50 years from now, we're going to be looking back and saying, what the heck were we doing? Why were we letting people think that this was healthy? And so what I didn't want to do was wait around and find out, because I would have been dead by then.
Well, John is exactly right. I have no doubt the day is going to come when the medical authorities will finally concede, although probably reluctantly and grudgingly, that a keto or low-carb diet is by far the most powerful and the fastest way to drive blood glucose from outrageously high to gloriously normal. But as John said, it may well be 50 years from now, and none of us can wait that long. That's precisely why I turn to the one guy who is light years ahead of his time, and that is Mike the blood sugar meter. Now, Mike is not a doctor. He's just a little $20 to $40 glucose measuring mini computer, but he can tell me right now which foods are safe for me and which foods drive my glucose far too high. And one thing I know for sure, living with high blood sugar and constant neuropathy is not safe. It's not healthy. It's not wise for me or anybody. If you allow neuropathy to go on too long, too many years, even a very low-carb diet may not be able to bring you back to feeling completely normal. But almost surely and almost always it will help. Okay, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the interview. John is one more shining example that diabetes, even the most severe kind of diabetes, can be beaten with the right weapons. If you'll give this video a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it, as YouTube will be more likely to promote the video in this channel to other diabetics that are seeking answers. And if you've not yet subscribed to this channel, consider doing so and then click that bell icon, and you should be notified when we post new videos. God bless. See you again soon.